Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2649A, and today's date is December 10th, 2021, and the title of the episode is Gold Will Destroy the Fed. In the end, the central banks will not survive. Let's talk about protecting yourself. Violent crimes are leaving towns across the U.S. on edge. In the heat of tourism in Hawaii, Honolulu, for example, police are investigating a string of recent crimes, including knife attacks, armed robberies, and more. Some residents are even changing their routines to avoid getting out at night. It's becoming well known now that violent crime has increased over the past year in the U.S., but some towns fear the trend isn't slowing down. This is why I highly recommend the Fighter Flare flashlight this holiday season. There's plenty of self-defense options to choose from, but none can do what the Fighter Flare does, which is to create a massive, ultra-bright light that blinds attackers from a distance. The Fighter Flare is a professional-grade, tactical, super bright tactical flashlight. Most importantly, it's highly recommended by the military, law enforcement, and emergency professionals. It also comes with a built-in compass, wire cutter, glass breaker hammer, a lighter, making it an ultimate all-in-one tool. Fighter Flare flashlight is giving everyone 20% off their own Fighter Flare flashlight during the holidays. Go to fighterflare.com, that is fighterflare.com, or click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the private Western Central Bank, the corrupt politicians, the fake news, they're in trouble. Just the other day, we were talking about how the Biden administration, of course, the puppet masters, were talking to the fake news saying, listen, we're going to need you to spin the news about the economy because right now we don't have a cover story. We don't have a war. We don't have the pandemic. The global economy is not shut down. And we're in trouble because everyone is looking at Biden, who's the puppet. And soon they'll be looking at us. So we need to convince the people that everything that they're experiencing, everything that they're going through, even though they're paying higher prices at the fuel pump and in the markets and everywhere else, it's all just a myth. The economy is actually really doing well. Everything's fine. It's the best we've ever seen it. And keep pushing that message out there to convince the people that what they're experiencing is completely wrong, and what we're telling them is the right thing. Do you think this is going to work? Absolutely not. And this is what we've been talking about. The fake news is covering for the private Western Central bankers because they don't have a cover story. We have Jim Cramer out there, and he got the memo, and he's trying to tell everyone that this is one of the strongest economies that we've ever seen. Weekly jobless claims totaled 184,000 for the week ended December 4th, the lowest going back to September 6th, 1969. They're telling us that, listen, everything that we're experiencing, it's the best. This is the best. Actually, if you really go back to Obama, he was pretty much saying the same thing. This is the new normal. This is the best it's going to get. I mean, this is not bad, this economy. Just get used to it. But here we have the fake news completely covering for the private Western Central Bank, for the Biden administration. They no longer control the narrative. That's the problem. They're trying to regain the control, but people are seeing through this. And we've known from just a couple of days ago that this was going to happen. Oliver Darcy put this out. Some news in the reliable sources, senior White House and admin officials have been holding briefings with major newsrooms over the past week as they try to reshape economic coverage. So let's look at this economy because it's the best ever. Let's see if it really is. Well, this is coming out of RNC Research, and this is CNN on November jobs report. 210,000 jobs were added back, less than half of what the economists were expecting. Now, of course, this news report came out before Biden, his puppet masters, had a talking to with the fake news. Now they're going to report something completely different. Let's go back to CNBC with Rick Santelli. Well, it was a disappointing November jobs report, a huge miss. But remember, this is the best we've ever seen. What about U.S. productivity? It declined by 5.2% in the third quarter, largest quarterly drop in 61 years. Think about this for a second. Think about what's happening. Now, remember, going back in time when Obama was president, remember what they did. The news reported something else that, oh, this is really good. They manipulated the unemployment numbers. They're still manipulating it. And they made everyone think that, oh, the economy's doing well. And they manipulated the numbers by leaving people off and not showing certain things, just like when they said, hey, look, the fuel prices have come down 2 cents, 3 cents, 10 cents. But they forgot to tell you the most important part. By the way, they went up by $1.30. So what you're experiencing is not really a savings because it still went up. And that's how they trick the public. What do you think they're going to do now? If the fake news had a talking to, they're going to have to manipulate like we've never seen before. Actually, things aren't even going to make sense anymore. Now, think about this. They're telling us how great everything is, but now inflation has gone up to 6.8% year over year, the largest increase since 1982. What does this tell you? It tells you things aren't getting better. This is not the best economy. How can it be the best economy? Fuel, and this is coming from Heather Long, this is the inflation in November, and it hit 6.8%. And here are the biggest annual increases. Gas is up 58%. Rental cars are up 37%. Used cars, 31%. Hotels, 26%. Steak, 25%. Utilities, 25%. Bacon, 21%. Pork, 17%. Furniture, 12%. And so on and so forth. And this is what everyone's experiencing. So when they go to buy food and they go, wow, just a couple of weeks ago, the same things I was getting, it was $100. Now it's $140. People can see that. It's very, very clear. So the fake news, the puppet masters, they're going to have a very difficult time. And we have to remember why they're doing this. They're doing this because people are figuring it out. They don't have a story which they could blame. Normally, they like to come out and point the finger and go, look, we're in a war, man. So, of course, you're going to see store shelves bare. Of course, you're going to see items go up in price, actually the devaluation of the currency. Of course, you're going to see all these things. And people would say, oh, yeah, that's right, we're in a war. Or a global pandemic. We're experiencing this because the world is shut down globally. Of course, you're going to experience this. It has nothing to do with us. We didn't start this out. We didn't push the virus out there. Well, of course, they did. Let's talk about protecting yourself. Violent crimes are leaving towns across the U.S. on edge. In Honolulu, Hawaii, for example, police are investigating a string of recent crimes, including knife attacks, armed robberies, and more. It's becoming well known that the violent crime has increased over the past year in the U.S., but some towns fear that trend isn't slowing down. This is why I highly recommend the Fighter Flare flashlight this holiday season. The Fighter Flare is a professional-grade tactical, super bright tactical flashlight. It's designed to help stop attackers from a distance with an ultra-bright strobe light. Most importantly, it's highly recommended by the military, law enforcement, and emergency professionals. Fighter Flare flashlight is giving everyone 20% off their own Fighter Flare flashlight during the holidays. Go to fighterflare.com or click the link in the description. But that's what they would blame it on. Now they don't have that cover story. See, this is the whole point. They're completely exposed. What they're actually showing everyone, they're showing everyone that they're panicking over the economy. Because remember, they started the ball rolling with the pandemic. They thought they had everything. Everything was ready to go. People are going to be locked down for a very long time. We're going to have no vaccine. Global economy was going to be shut down. We're going to start stimulus. We're going to get this thing. We're going to get the ball rolling here. And we're going to blame everything on the pandemic. Well, Trump countered all of this. But once they got the ball rolling, it's like an avalanche. You just can't put the brakes on it. So they got the ball rolling. All the stimulus was out there. Currency floating around all over the place. They started the supply chains, and they can't just stop it, so they have to continue on. But as they continue on, what's happening? People are noticing the truth about the economy. Actually, everything is being ripped away so you can see the true private Western Central Bank economy. This is what it really looks like. Actually, it's a lot worse. And I think we're going to get there. And we're going to have a crisis. And I do believe in the end, yeah, the central bank, they're going to be destroyed. We'll be talking about that in just a sec. But remember Biden's child tax credit that he kept on talking about? And we talked about this too, where a lot of it goes to illegals because in the child tax credit bill, which is part of the infrastructure bill, people don't need a social security number to get this. But what's very interesting about this is that the everyday American, they're not seeing a benefit from it. 76% of American adults said that the child tax credit program did not help them at all. And this is coming from an NPR Marist poll. So Biden, he was out there going, child tax credit, you're going to love it, you're going to love it. Well, nobody's noticing how this is helping them. So families who received the money and who have an annual household income of less than $50,000 were also disappointed with the tax credit. In this case, only 5% said the credit was helpful. 16% said a little helpful. 73% said, yeah, it didn't help us at all. Think about it. So people aren't even noticing this incredible benefit to them. You know who's noticing it? The illegals, all the children that are coming in. You don't need a social security number to get this. That's who's really noticing it, not the everyday American. Now, what's very interesting about everything that we're seeing the currency, and I'm talking about the Federal Reserve note. It is continually declining. That's what inflation is. It means that the value of that paper currency that you're holding in your hand, $1, $5 bill, $10 bill, it is losing value as you are holding it. That's what that means. And as it loses value, what happens? Alternative currencies, they start to move up. Now, once again, the private Western Central Bank does not want people to recognize other alternative currencies, especially gold and silver, Bitcoin. And we can see that they're trying to use information and do whatever they possibly can to try to bring Bitcoin down, just like they do with gold. But they're going to have a little bit harder time with Bitcoin because they don't have full control over it like they do with gold and silver. But I think in the end, they're going to have a big problem because once Bitcoin continually moves up, which it's going to do, once gold breaks out, that is going to be a problem for them. And I think Governor DeSantis of Florida, I think he realizes this. I think he realizes what's going on here because he came out and he says that we are now welcoming Bitcoin in Florida. And he wants people to be able to pay for taxes or other things in the state using Bitcoin. Now, that is very interesting. And I think he understands what's going on in the economy and he realizes what is happening. Now, think about this. We're coming up to a 3-year delta on post 2619. This is December 12, 2018. And it says the following. There was a question on the boards that was asked to Q, and it says, do we have the gold? And Q answered, yes, gold shall destroy the Fed. Now, think about what's happening right now. Trump came out and he told us that inflation is going to destroy the economy, and inflation is picking up right now, which means the value of the Federal Reserve note is continually declining at a rapid pace now, so everyone can see it. It's not the slow pace from 1913 where no one really recognized it and they covered it up by moving all the manufacturing out of this country, bringing the manufacturing into other countries where they can produce the items at a very deep, deep discount because the workers there were getting pennies to work and produce. This is how they kept the illusion going. Then they told people, you know what, you're going to have to live on credit. So they introduced credit cards and credit. They told people, oh, you're going to have 2 jobs now. So the wife would have to go back to work, or the husband had to go back to work, depending on who was watching the children or who was home. The point is, they both had to go back to work. So both had to go back to work to earn the same amount because of the devaluation of the currency. People had to live on credit. You needed payment plans, just like with a car. And when the financing amount got way too high because inflation was picking up, which means the value of the currency was declining, they had to move from financing to leasing, which means you rent the car. Remember, their whole plan is you will own nothing. See, when you lease, you don't own it. You're renting it. So they already started that in motion. So think about what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the devaluation of the currency. It's accelerating, which means with Bitcoin, you can see what's really going on. And people are using Bitcoin right now to protect their wealth. Yes, people are still buying gold and silver. Now, what I think is going to happen and what I think this post actually means is that when the manipulation is ripped away from gold and you actually see what gold is actually worth, and you can actually go to usdebtclock.org, and on the bottom right-hand corner, It says dollar to silver ratio now, 2,955 per ounce. That's without manipulation. They're saying that's what silver would be worth per ounce. And they're using the calculation that goes back to 1913. If you look at gold, dollar to gold ratio now, $20,635 per ounce. Back in 1913, it was $28.74. Now, think about gold for a second and think about Bitcoin. Gold, very, very close to where Bitcoin is. Now, let's take this one step further. If inflation continues and it's destroying the currency, destroying the economy, and manipulation is removed from gold, and gold reaches a point of, say, $20,000 per ounce, would that destroy the private Western central bank system? Yes, it would. See, if you take Bitcoin, and you see where it is right today, and then all of a sudden gold reaches almost where Bitcoin is, people are going to say, okay, what is going on here? They're going to see the true value of the paper currency. Just like you're seeing the true private Western central bank economy now. The reason why you're seeing it happen so quickly is because the Patriots, they're showing you what the true private Western central bank system actually looks like. We haven't even reached it yet. We're getting there. When the manipulation is ripped away from gold, from silver, you're going to see the true value of the Federal Reserve note. And people are going to wake up and realize it is worth nothing. Once people lose faith in the currency, because that's all it is, it's just faith. It's something you believe. There's nothing backing it. Once you lose faith in it, and gold, because it's been around for thousands of years, it will destroy the Federal Reserve note. It will destroy the private Western central bank. And people will start to question what is going on here. And I do believe this is when the entire crisis hits. This is when I do believe there's going to be an audit. And people are going to demand change. They're going to say, well, if this is worth nothing, where can we get the stuff that's worth something? And you're going to be looking at gold. You're going to be looking at Bitcoin. And the private Western central bank system around the world will not be able to survive this. Because remember, they've been manipulating this the entire time. Now it's being ripped away. It's being exposed so everyone can see their true system. And once people do, it's game over. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.